Hi. No transition. Weird. Quick cut. Happy Friday. Hello, John. Hello, is that Therese? Hi, people. Thank God it's Friday. Mm-hmm. I am I'm streaming, as you can see. I'm not really sure why. I mean, I don't know. I was looking through this recent Trump speech from yesterday, and we'll just watch some clips together. I'm like, should I make a video out of this? No, I'm not going to make a video out of this. But I guess I am. I'm live streaming. It's video-esque. But we'll get there. I just want to chat for now, see how people are doing. How are all your brains? You all feeling good? You all feeling optimistic, happy, hopeful about everything? About your lives, about the world? Oliver, hello from Maine. Maine seems like a nice place. Never been, but seems like a nice place. Nice jean jacket. Yeah. Might be kind of wrinkly. You don't iron jean jackets, do you? Because I did not iron this. But it's a bit, oh, it's okay now. Settle for a bit on the hanger. It's all good. Doug says, I much prefer Friday Rational Live over 6 people talking at once on leftist mafia. Doug, you have to, that was maybe like the first 3 episodes. We don't really talk over each other now. There are moments where someone's speaking or 2 people try to speak at once, but then one person ends up giving in and allowing the other person to speak. We all take turns being the person giving in. So no, look, I'm my own worst critic. I think those shows are pretty entertaining. We don't always touch on the most important topics. We kind of want to just, relax and enjoy ourselves sometimes. But I like how the conversations flow. They usually go pretty naturally. We're not forcing anything, so I enjoy them. The more we do them, the more I enjoy them. That said, I do wish we could do those podcasts at like 1 p.m. as opposed to 8 or 8:30. It goes too late for me, and then I don't sleep properly, and then I'm in a bad mood the next day. That happens pretty much every week at this point. I just don't sleep. If I don't sleep properly, oh my, you should have seen me yesterday. There was no video yesterday, if you noticed. I'm coming down with like the daycare sickness again. Every 2 months, I get the daycare sickness. So whatever it is now, hopefully it's a quick one. Last time it was pretty quick. It lasted like a few days and went away. But I've been sick before where it was like 3 months or more, and that was just horrifying. But I've been coming down with something, and it was that combined with the fact that I watched the hockey game. Leafs fan, any Leaf fans in here? Uh, and they played a rare 10 p.m. game in Arizona. So I wanted to watch it because Austin Matthews, the greatest player currently in the NHL. Sorry, anybody else, but at least the greatest goal scorer. Um, he was going for his 50th goal this year in his hometown, or at least his home state of Arizona. So I wanted to watch that. But a start time of 10 p.m. and it went to like 12:30 or something. So it was that combined with me being sick, and then I go to bed and I'm not sleeping properly. I wake up. I have to wake up early to get my child to daycare, and then it's just I was not in a good mood all day. And I'm not sure if I'm sure you all have these days, but I just did not. Nothing was interesting to me. I hated everything. I didn't really feel like playing a video game. I didn't feel like doing anything. So it was a chore to try and cover anything at all, especially when it comes to the way politics and news are right now, where every story is incredibly depressing. So to try and add that, the idea of me producing a video on some topic, on some depressing ass topic, while I'm incredibly depressed and angry, it just wasn't going to happen. So I had to drag myself to the podcast, but once I was there, it was fine. But it's there are some weeks, like some weeks are fine, and I'm rolling along fine, doing what I do, enjoying what I do. Then there are some weeks where I hit a wall on like Tuesday. Like Monday, I can maybe get something out, and then Tuesday hits, and it's usually like something sets me off. I'll be on Twitter, and I'll see a tweet, and it's just maybe a gruesome. This happened this week as well. A I'm scrolling, and a gruesome video from Gaza of a child is auto playing. I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then I had to just get off the computer and go lay down because I couldn't. At that point, I'm like, I'm not built for this job, which which maybe is part of the reason why I excel at it in certain areas, because I am not your typical newscaster. I can't turn off my brain when it comes to trying to cover this stuff in any sort of uh, way where I'm divorced from what I am discussing. I can't do that. So I really have to be in the right headspace. I have to have the proper sleep, the proper diet to be able to tackle, one of these topics. And the other issue is I work alone, right? Like it's not like I don't know, like the Majority Report, for example, they do fantastic work, great interviews. There's a team there. There are, a couple of hosts, there's producers, like there are people that they can riff off of and sort of I don't know, spread around the depression, for lack of a better term here, where they can all sort of, they're all going through it at the same time. They're all relying on each other. They're all discussing it. When it's like me in an empty room and I'm just in on the most depressing news in the world, it can become very isolating, depressing, exhausting. And I need more breaks, especially now, than I've ever needed them. So there's going to be the occasional day where there's just nothing on the page because I can't. But it also feels weird, like talking about this or complaining about this, because my life is clearly a lot better than many people, especially the topics I'm covering. But regardless, that doesn't matter when it comes to me trying to do this actual work. But a lot of people in the chat. So we'll get to, I don't know, whatever. We'll try to laugh, maybe, at some of this Trump shit that is he's so weird. I want to Read some of your chats first. Strange and Bizarre says, Dear Canada, Shawn Michaels was better. Learn to accept that, Bret Harters. I like Shawn Michaels. I like Bret Hart. I don't really have a favorite. So I got no dog in this fight. Thank you to people for some of the kind words I'm seeing. I appreciate that. Strange and Bizarre says St. Louis Blues. The Leafs just beat the Blues twice in the past 8 games. I'm just saying. Great games, too. Leafs are on a 6-game winning streak. I think it is their longest streak of the year. Beat the defending Stanley Cup champions last night, 7-3. That's right. Toronto beat Vegas 7-3. It was great. And they play Colorado on Saturday, which is going to be a tough game. Have you tried a heated mattress pad? I like my bed to be cold, so no. I do not want to have a heated mattress pad. Celeste says, I'm watching Shark Tank right now. I don't know. I can't watch that show anymore. Kevin O'Leary, is he still on that show? He's just the worst person in the world. All right. Chris says, take it easy. I get the exhaustion watching this shit show in the U.S., plus dealing with our own Polyev and Thug Ford. Sometimes it's a lot to take. Yeah, just the worst people in power all the time can get a little tiring to continue talking about. James says, do you watch MMA? No. There was a couple years there where I was watching a little more regularly, like the what was it? I'm forgetting all their names now, but it was like 2016, 17, maybe 15, 16, 17. I was watching a little more. I have not really watched a whole lot recently. Tech Tony says, does the chat work beside me? Let me see. All right, that's not going to do it. Me small chat. It's not showing up. Okay. I got to figure out how to get the chat on screen. It works sometimes. It doesn't work other times. What was I reading? Tech Tony, what's your opinion on mandatory gun buybacks? I don't know how you do that, how you make it mandatory. You can't really go door to door and take people's guns away. That's not, I mean, you can. It's probably not going to go over very well. So I think it's good to have an option, if you want, an optional gun buyback program. I think it's good to encourage people. But like when it comes to gun laws, it's very contextual. Like it's going to be very hard to do anything drastic in the US, which is why I think at the very least, background checks, bans on certain weapons, have a proper licensing and training system for you to be able to even own a weapon. I mean, I've discussed this before. I have videos on this. If you look up on my channel, Canada, US gun laws, I'm sure something will pop up there where I discuss what Canada does. And it's what we do here, I think is the solution. So, because you could still own a gun in Canada if you want, but there's a process to go through and there's background checks and they have to call, your current partner or former partners to ensure you're someone in their mind that should be allowed to own a firearm. So there's a whole process to go through that I think should be like any other process, like trying to get your car, your driver's license and own a car. Like there's a process there that I just feel should be at least the bare minimum when it comes to owning a firearm. But you're never going to be able to just ban all guns. That's not realistic. Captain Spock says hockey is like MMA. That is the worst take I've ever heard in my life. But Captain Spock, I recognize your name, so you are you are a regular. I will not disparage you, but I will say that is ridiculous. Hockey is not like MMA. Super chat. I highly encourage super chats. There it is. What are your thoughts and opinions on the class politics versus identity politics debate on the left? Do you even see it as a dichotomy on the left? I don't even see that debate anymore. I feel like that's really a 2016 discussion. I don't see many discussions around, class versus identity politics. I'm not really even seeing that discussion. I think at this point, people realize they're intertwined. So it doesn't make sense to separate the two. I appreciate the super chat, though. All right, so I got some time here, maybe like an hour. We can chat throughout, but this Trump speech. I was seeing some clips online. Now, if you guys are bored by this guy, we don't have to stay on this too long. But this is something to at least show you, because there's a little bit of people of this sentiment that, oh, Biden's lost his mind, and he has mental issues, or he's an old man and he's a little slow now, and all those things I think are accurate. Trump isn't that much younger than Joe Biden. It's like a few years younger than Joe Biden. He's also not well. And on top of not being well, he's also a fascist, clearly. So I just think it's worth pointing that out, acknowledging that there is a complete effing lunatic. That isn't to take away any of the obvious issues right now, especially right now with the Biden administration. But it's just to acknowledge that this guy is not well. So how should we do this? Maybe I'll go here. So I was seeing clips online, we'll get some of these later, like this. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go online. I want to see this whole speech, because these things out of context, they seem really odd, bizarre. Let me just watch this full speech and see what he discussed. He spoke for 3 hours. He spoke for 3 hours. Imagine being in that room, listening to this lunatic for 3 hours. Just forget the fact that he's even a lunatic. He's very boring. Like there are some moments here where, there's some comedy, I guess, but he's very low energy Jeb Bush to do a callback to 2016. He was very, very low energy in this 3 hour speech. This is with the Association of Christian Communicators, which I didn't know was a thing, but I guess it is. But let me just go to a random spot and see what he's talking about.
It's really dangerous. Okay, it's really.
Oh, I had it on, like 1.5 speed because I cannot listen to this guy on normal speed.
A bad thing, and you're going to leave this room, and some will say, "Oh, I think it's an over-exaggeration," and some will say it's actually maybe not even up to what it should be as a statement. It's very dangerous out there. They're doing bad things. They want to tear down crosses where they can and cover them up with social justice flags, which nobody even knows what it means. Nobody knows. They don't know what it means.
I also don't know what that means. Social justice flags? What? This is what I'm talking about. You can go to the speech and just pick a random spot, and he's just going off about some absolute bullshit.
They want to take off the name George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson off schools and off monuments. Think of it. They take down statues like it's the most magnificent statues anyone's ever seen, and they knock them.
Oh my God. Okay, what else?
Other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our children.
Oh, I'm sure this is the anti-trans portion of the speech. I guess this is just like an all-encompassing whatever.
One of the terms, they say, you come up with good names. I said, maybe fake news was the best. They're fake news. You know, when I first started, fake news.
Oh my God. He's just playing the hits. So I'll get to some specific clips since we're not going to jump around a 3-hour speech, but at least not anymore. But this was apparently the setting here. So this is in Nashville. More than 2 hours into the forum, Trump so I guess he's 2 hours late. The room is far from full. About 20 minutes ago, staff cleared out about 300 chairs from the far back corner. Photo on the left was taken just after 7 p.m. Photo on the right was taken just now. So not many people showing. Now, you know, who knows what this really means in the real world? We're seeing polling where it's not looking good for Joe Biden. So I'm not going to be like, hey, look at these empty chairs. That means Trump's definitely going to lose. No. But he's not, at least in some cases, in this case, he's not drawing the kind of crowds that, maybe he once did. Is this the crazy one? There was one where I played and he's just rambling completely incoherently.
The people are pouring over. It's sort of known as Snake Mountain, State Kill, Snake. It's snake. A lot of snakes. I think they're rattlesnakes.
That may have to be a soundtrack. That may have to be a new soundtrack.
The people are pouring over. It's sort of known as Snake Mountain, State Kill, Snake. It's snake. A lot of snakes. I think they're rattlesnakes. Between the rattlesnakes and the rough terrain and the...
What? What is it? Is this like when he was trying to... what was the word he was trying to say? He kept saying orange. Look at the oranges. Look at the oranges. Now I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting what that word was. But he was trying to say something that I guess sounded like orange. What was it? I'm sure someone in the chat will recall and tell me. But he was trying to say orange, or he was trying to say something else, and he kept saying orange. He must have a similar issue with saying steak and snake, or he's confusing steak and snake.
The people are pouring over. It's sort of known as Snake Mountain, State Kill.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Or the orange. I know I'm doing it. The origins. The origins. Jeez, this man will dice up your brain if you think too hard about it. Yeah, so he kept saying oranges, and it was just.
Snake.
Snake and steak, though, very clearly different. I just did the orange thing, so oranges, origins. See, origins, oranges. That one's a little tougher. Steak and snake, very clearly two distinct pronunciations.
It's snake. A lot of snakes. I think they're rattlesnakes. Between the rattlesnakes and the rough terrain and the steepness, they said nobody's coming. The people are coming over by the thousands. It's crazy, and we let them come over. We let them do it.
Isn't it so? It's so weird. Every election season, there's this invasion at the border. Bizarre. Almost as if this entire thing is completely manufactured. It just so happens every election season, they're coming in by the thousands. They're taking over the country. And then the election's over. Oh, wait, what? Oh, that's old news. News story now. It happens every time.
Our country can't withstand, no country can withstand what's happening to us. The cities are being inundated. They're being overrun. They're taking the parks from children. There are no more baseball fields, no more soccer fields, no more anything. It doesn't sound very serious. Soccer fields and baseball fields are very serious.
Say knocker fields?
Soccer fields and baseball fields, no more anything. It doesn't sound very serious. Soccer fields and baseball fields are very serious. Their way of life has changed, and they're being treated better than long-time American citizens, and they're being treated better than our soldiers, our veterans are being treated. They're staying in world-class hotels. The whole thing is crazy, what's happening in our country. Let's call these brave Americans what they...
Wait. I was kind of tuning out there because he's very boring. They're staying in world-class hotel...
Class hotels. The whole thing is crazy, what's happening in our country. Let's call these brave Americans what they really are, persecuted Christians. They're being persecuted. And let's call their imprisonment. They are being imprisoned by Joe Biden and his people, evil people. He's surrounded by very evil people. They are, I believe, just doing whatever they want to do. I don't believe they have any leadership at all. Joe Biden, because of his gross incompetence, is a threat to democracy, big threat to democracy. To reverse these monstrous abuses of power, the moment I win the election, I will appoint a special task force to rapidly review the cases of every political prisoner who has been unjustly victimized by the Biden regime.
This is in the same sentence where he's discussing how Biden is a threat to democracy. This is the guy who still claims at some point in the speech, he claimed that he got, as he does every time. I got the most votes of any president ever. I won the election. Like he does this every time. He continues on this. And it's very easy to get used to it because we're so used to how ridiculous Donald Trump is. But it's also important to not get used to it and to contextualize this absolute lunatic.
Never again will the federal government be used to target religious believers. They are targeting religious believers.
Again, it just based on what? This one, I don't know. He gets in on pronouns. Again, just more nonsense.
Nothing happened. But I did it, and Israel, therefore, became the capital. Then it was a big thing. And on Monday, I called back the biggest leaders in the whole world, richest leaders, biggest leaders. I said, hi, what's up? Nothing happened. But I did it, and Israel, therefore, became the capital. Then it was...
Israel became the capital? Worth noting, Trump is a massive friend of Netanyahu. There is a place in Israel called Trump Heights, named after Trump, after he recognized the Golan Heights as Israel's territory. So he is not, better on that. This one is just the most, I guess, everything's inaccurate, but this is just obviously wrong.
And I was able to bring this issue for the first time in 54 years back to the states where everybody agrees on both sides. Everybody agrees that's where it should be, back in the states. It was so important. Everybody on both sides. And they are the radicals. Remember this. And I was able to bring this issue for the first time in 54 years back to the states where everybody agrees on both sides. Everybody agrees that's where it should be, back in the states. It was so important. Everybody on both sides. And they are the radicals. Remember this.
This is one of, if not the most galvanizing issue in the general, at least before October 7th, is abortion rights. To pretend that everybody on both sides agrees with what the Supreme Court did to abortion rights is just clearly wrong. But like, I'm not even sure why he has to create this fake world. I'm sure he hasn't before, because he often discusses how, oh, they're so far left, they want, abortion on demand and all these, right wing terms. But here he's pretending that no, there's full consensus on abortion rights, or I guess lack of abortion rights. That's just clearly not correct. And this one I already showed you. So that's the speech. You can see why it's not worth doing a video on this lunatic. But it's just, I think it's important to occasionally check in and see what he's doing, right? See what he's talking about, see what he's saying, and remember that this guy is still out of his fucking mind. But that's that. Let me grab some chats. I could jump around here more, but it's not. I don't think it's worth that. It's not worth the time. There's some other potential stories. Oh yeah, there's CPAC going on too. Is it just me, or is CPAC every month? I feel like every month or every 2 months there's a CPAC event where there's a bunch of loons on stage. Republicans just like saying stupid shit. And then they this is sometimes why I don't mind these CPAC events, because we get to see the kind of bullshit that they're selling conservatives. This is a fun one. Top shelf merch at CPAC this year. They're selling Woke Tears water. Here's this AI generated image where they just typed in 20-year-old with pink and yellow hair crying, and then they got an image of their bottle here. Woke Tears water, made from pure melted snowflakes, identifies as transparent. You can really sell conservatives on any piece of garbage. There's another one I'll get to. I saw this morning. There's this one I have less of an issue with, but it's here. It is. This is the January 6th insurrection pinball game. Some brain-wormed sad man created this pinball game. I mean, this is really, you could argue, the least destructive way to contribute to this is make a pinball game out of Jan 6.
This is the most fraudulent thing anybody's. This is a criminal enterprise. Our brightest days are before us.
You're making America proud with your hard work and achievements. Never give up. Extra ball.
Trump.
Never give up. Extra ball.
Brightest days are before us.
You're making America proud with your hard work and achievements. Never give up. Extra ball.
Trump never actually said free ball and multi-ball. I used AI text to speech to get the Trump voice in there and add it to the game. And so, whereas other quotes are actual, recordings from Trump.
This is a criminal enterprise. Our brightest days are before us.
Got it done.
Also, I did notice that first, but it's actually a video pinball. This is a screen, which makes it less cool. I mean, to be clear, it's not cool regardless, because it's based on Jan 6th. But if you're going to make a pinball game, at least, use some real parts. Maybe this is the prototype to get an idea for the full thing.
You get a free ball.
Fight like hell.
What's on this list here? Let's see. Stop the steal, fake news, peaceful protest. It's a setup. Babbitt something. Have faith. And then the last one, it's too blurry. Amazing. Koru says, where can I get that pinball machine? I don't know. It seems to be a prototype right now. But just a amazing waste of time. Asbestos-filled pillows. That's from Autumn Leaves. This gets me to thinking about why some people just are not like it. It's one thing to have political disagreements, which of course people have opinions, disagreements. It's another to live in a completely different reality from the one that is actually real. I feel like there has to be a greater explanation for some of this, like lead in the water, gas leak, because I don't know. I know the infrastructure in the U.S. is not great, so maybe that plays some part in this, because there are just some people who are just, they appear to be unwell, completely unwell, and I have a hard time understanding how a lot of these people, put their clothes on in the morning. What's your name? Kia Damon just picked up Persona 3 Reload on PS5. I've been playing that too. I'm about maybe 20 hours into it. Great game. There's actually a lot that's already out and coming out this year. I didn't think it'd be possible to really compare with the releases last year, but there's a lot coming out, especially if you're into RPGs. A lot out this year and coming out this year that is really good. Just reading through chat here. Tyler says cringe, but hey, let them have their pinball. That's my feeling. It's incredibly cringe. It's very stupid, but this is hurting nobody. Some pinball. Let this guy have his pinball. I rather he create a pinball machine than spend his time doing anything else. So it's not the worst use of time, really, for someone that is in this cult. Sanders says Helldivers. Helldivers looks good. I have it. I played the first mission and realized, hey, I need some friends that play video games. This game is not really going to be the same. So I've been talking with some people behind the scenes in DMs, see if we can play some Helldivers together. Dominic, have you played Octopath Traveler? I am playing the second one. I fell off of it because I think I got sidetracked by another game I was playing. But I enjoyed what I played, and I do want to go back and finish it. Deeper Meaning in Horror says, we need a president who can teach like Katie Porter. I gotta say, I'm not completely writing off Katie Porter. She's still a lot better than most people in any position of power, but her refusal to be very clear about what Israel is doing is incredibly disappointing. I wouldn't even say it's disappointing, because that's kind of what you expect from basically anyone in power. They're going to be afraid to criticize the obvious genocide going on. But it would be nice if Katie Porter had that element. But she does not. But again, if it's her or Adam Schiff, I think it's very clear who I would choose. Omega Star says they have melted COVID brains. I do think that at some point we're going to learn what COVID did to people's brains, because there are people that, forget online, but there are people that I know of that are, that I was acquaintances of, where they've lost their minds. And it's wild to watch. There's one person I know, I kind of know, I don't know them well, but I know them enough to have followed them, where they were like big Bernie Sanders supporter in 2016, 2020. They were, progressive individual. And then after COVID, they're now super into Tucker Carlson, super into right-wing propaganda. And it's just, how do you go from being aware of the issues within society, within government, and then the solutions to solve some of those issues? How do you go from that to being completely right-wing nutso? Like, it's one thing to always be stuck in the cult or the bubble and grow up in that kind of environment and not really have much exposure to different opinions or, the other side. It's another to at once have been aware of reality and then to have fallen into just, I don't know, the ether mentally, or your brain evaporates. So clearly, I think we're going to need years and years of studies to really analyze that, but there has to be something to that. Eric the Dead says, by the way, you're awesome and you inspire me to make my own content. Keep it up. Thank you, Eric. Are you saying they had COVID? I mean, probably didn't. At this point, hasn't everyone had COVID? unless you live, secluded on a farm, you probably, without even realizing it, maybe you didn't test for it, but you probably had COVID. Like, I've never had a positive test of COVID, but I've also never tested myself every time I've had the sniffles or something. So I've probably had COVID, but it was well after, the first year and a half or couple years, I guess. But I'm sure I've had it, as most people I think have. Hello, Katie. Says, wishing everyone a great day. You too. All right, let's see what else is going on. Maybe I can. I did see this story. Anyone here from Arizona? No, I'm not going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs beating the Arizona Coyotes and Matthews getting his 50th goal. No, but I will talk about this matchup. So apparently, Carrie Lake, not all that popular. Even in a three-way race with Cinema, Carrie Lake is losing. Now, again, this is a poll. This election's not really close. That said, if you're losing in a three-way race as a Republican in Arizona, I have to imagine you're not all that popular. And if it's just Gallego and Lake, she's losing by even more. So it is interesting breakdown here. Like, clearly there are some Cinema voters who go to supporting Carrie Lake, which is, I guess, not surprising. Kirsten Cinema is just the absolute worst. So shouldn't be all that surprising to see some of that divide there, but I don't know. I do hope Democrats can keep that seat, though. Or I guess get it back since Cinema now is independent. Uh, Amish Runaway, or Amish Runaway. Is it Amit? Whatever your name is. I apologize. Says, hi, just wanted to say I watched you almost daily through 2020 and lockdown. You were what kept me sane some days. Thank you for your content. Thank you. You all kept me sane during COVID. I still remember, I don't remember recording many things since I record videos all the time and I do live streams all the time. But I do remember the one live stream I do remember is when I first realized that COVID was like legitimate, like an actual thing that we have to worry about now. And that live stream was sort of cathartic in a way where it's just, thank God there are other sane people, at least right now. At the time there were. Half that audience have probably lost their fucking minds. But it was good to be able to have an outlet to discuss what we were all going through and learn at the same time. Like when COVID first hit, I had just no interest at all in talking about like science and viruses and potential vaccine. None of that interested me in the least. And I guess slowly developed an interest because I felt a need to cover it and discuss it and look at different countries and see what different countries were doing to combat it versus what, we were doing, whether it's Canada, the US, and, discussing policies all around that. So it was an interesting time. And, COVID is still here, I guess, but it's not the same, obviously. And that's when my hair slowly began to grow because I didn't get a haircut for, I guess, 2 years, probably. Letter hack. Hey, everything changed after March 2020. It really did. I can't even go back and watch, any of really anything pre-pandemic without thinking, oh, this is before the pandemic. It's just, that's always going to be, I'm always going to judge everything I see based on that. Like I'd be a little afraid actually, just to go back and see the kind of videos I was putting out in maybe like January 2020. Just because it was such a happier time. There was so much hope. Bernie Sanders was running in the primary. It looked really good for him. He won some early states. Won Nevada big. Or is it Nevada? Won that state big. And then let's not discuss. I still have scars. Runaway says, did you have sexy long hair? Thank you. I apologize to anyone that wants to see my long hair again. I will never grow my hair that long again. Not because I don't like how it looked. It looked fine. The issue was the keep up. Every shower, this is when I've always appreciated women for various reasons. But anyone that grows their hair that long and showers on any kind of consistent basis, I applaud you. My hair, maybe it's the kind of hair that I have. It's like thick and poofy, and it's just washing it was an extra 20 minutes in the shower every day. My showers were like 40 minutes long because washing my hair was a pain in the ass. And then I came to learn when you have long hair, you don't have to wash it every day. In fact, you shouldn't wash it every day. So I began to not do that. But then it felt weird not washing my hair every day. And I felt like I had dirty hair. And it just, having it shorter is so much better for so many reasons. It's just easier. It's just easier. That's actually, it's not so many reasons. One reason. It's easier. That is the reason. But I really came to appreciate anyone that is able to maintain long hair, especially if it's thick. Wanda M says, David has more energy during the day. I can relate. Of course, don't most people have more energy during the day? Is this a slight at how I am during the podcast, the Leftist Mafia podcast, where I'm usually half asleep or just low energy? I am infinitely better during the day, which is why, again, I said this at the beginning of the stream. I wish those podcasts were recorded at like 1 p.m. or even like 9 a.m. would be amazing. But of course, Mike's on the West Coast. We can't get them to wake up at 6 a.m. God forbid. But me, as someone on the East Coast, I have to stay up till midnight. No, I do not. I just leave early. But yeah, unless I have like a late night coffee, which is also a bad idea because then I can't fall asleep. So Bruce says, stop washing my hair. Stopped washing my COVID hair altogether. Think it might come off this spring. You still have your COVID hair? Bruce. Must be long and luxurious. So Life says, every woman I've lived with puts their damn hair on the shower wall. I don't think anybody intentionally puts their hair on the shower wall. It probably just ends up there. That was another thing. I thought I was like losing my hair. And I haven't. But like when my hair was so long, there was so much, like after like a week of a shower or like maybe like a couple weeks of showering, there'd be all this hair in the what's it called? The bottom of the shower, that the catcher, that I'd be like, what's going on here? Am I losing my hair? But I guess our hair falls out all the time and you don't notice it because it's short, but when it's long, it stays there. And it's disgusting. Why am I keeping this up? This is not relevant. See, is there anything else that happened this week that, is not genocide related that is worth discussing? That's another thing too with this genocide. It makes it very tough to cover literally anything else because nothing else feels like it matters in comparison. Like it's just getting the energy up to discuss the election or, unless it's in the context of Israel, which usually, if you watch all my videos, which maybe some of you do, videos that are not even about the genocide or about Israel, at some point in that video, I'm very likely going to bring it up because it touches a lot of issues. But, just discussing anything else is really, it just seems pointless. All right, I'm going to grab some more chats here and then probably jump off. I was going to maybe play a game, but I feel like last time I did, the stream crashed. I need to update my iMac. I've learned that a 2017 iMac is old. Apparently 2017 was not 3 years ago, as it feels it was. No, 2017's a long time ago. Whatever the math is on that. It was a long time ago. So, that was the first year of Trump's presidency. So I'm going to have to considered upgrading, but the only issue I ever have really with this iMac is when I try to stream a game. In fact, I tried yesterday to stream Rocket League on my second channel and on Twitch, and 10 minutes into the stream, it was glitching out, the screen was glitching out, it was turning purple, all these weird things were happening, and then the computer just froze completely. And that's happened several times. So people are saying go PC. I use Final Cut for editing, and I love Final Cut. It's great for what I do. I don't care for Premiere. I don't care to learn another editing program. So I'm always going to have a Mac. I love Macs. They're simple, generally simple. And I have enough, like I have a Steam Deck if I care to play PC games. I'm more of a console gamer. I have no reason to really own a PC, except for live streaming without crashing, which also is not guaranteed. I just, years of having, I was Windows till, like 2007. I was all Windows till like 2007. And then once I began using a Mac, I just felt like there was no reason for me to ever use a PC. And that was, by the way, I used a Mac as my main computer while I worked for a PC company. I worked for AMD. If you're familiar with graphic cards, NVIDIA, AMD is their competitor. They're now lesser known competitor. It's not much of a competitor apparently now. But I used to work for AMD. And while I was working at AMD, my home computer was a Mac. Now, I did have a PC at the time too, but when it came to actually doing things that was not playing a PC game, I always used Mac. I just don't like Windows. And yes, you can. Okay. So someone said you could run Mac OS on a PC. I don't want to get into all that shit. I've been able to run Windows on this Mac as well, and it's taken like a portion of my hard drive to do that. It's just not. I want clean, simple. I don't want to overcomplicate my computer experience by running this program to run Mac OS or running this program to run Windows on my Mac. It's like no. I'm one or the other. That's it. Again, I got a Steam Deck for Steam. That's all I need. Looney Tune says David should do these Friday streams more often. I may have to. If this is how I'm feeling most weeks at this point, I haven't felt like producing a proper video since like Tuesday. Part of it's the sickness. Part of it's just my lack of interest. Or I wouldn't even say lack of interest, but just the complete depression that a lot of the news has put me in. So it's a lot. It's just more enjoyable to just talk with some people. The anti-corporatist says getting a Mac with an M1, M2, or M3 chip will streamline video editing by a lot. Yeah, I'm hearing those chips are really good. I need to save up for an upgrade. The thing is, I don't know what the issue really is, because the issue may not be the Mac. It could be Wirecast. It could be OBS. I go between the two to try and avoid the crashing. But I've had both crash. I've had OBS crash on me while gaming. I've had Wirecast crash me while gaming. So it's hard to know what the problem is. Someone says, sorry, what's your name? Circuitry? Is that what it is? You can build a Hackintosh and run Mac OS and Linux. That's what I do. That is the last thing I want to do. The last thing I want to do is build a Hackintosh. I get, if you're super into that, cool. I used to be into building PCs. Like, I get it. I enjoy that tinkering. I just don't have the time now. I have very little personal time, and when I have personal time, it's like I want to play a video game. So I don't want to be building Hackintoshes. It's not going to happen. Bender thinks he needs to get a new Mac Mini because his hard drive is getting full. Well, I'm sure he has other reasons. I'm sure Bender is like a tech reporter. At least kind of a tech reporter. He's aware that he can buy a hard drive. He probably just has an old computer. And like, if I'm in the tinkering mood, because I get, again, there is that itch that I want to scratch sometimes where, I used to enjoy building PCs, but now I'm into, if I'm in that mood to mess around with something, I want to mess around with like emulation with my PSP or my Vita and, do that shit. Like where's my PSP is right here. So this thing, it's amazing. See all the fingerprints. It's amazing how well this is held up. Like this, like the screen. The screen still looks great, and there are so many great PSP games, especially if you're into JRPGs. Like I'm an idiot. So after starting Persona 3 Reload, I'm like, you know what? I want to check out Persona 2. I don't know why. There's no need for that. But I grabbed Persona 2, started playing on the PSP, and it is fantastic. So, like, that's where my tinker brain goes. If I want to mess with something, it's usually with my older gaming consoles. JCass, thank you for the super chat. Says thoughts on the Borderlands movie. Oof. I have not followed it at all. I also don't like, I'm not really a film person in the least. I have probably, out of anyone watching this stream, I have probably seen less Oscar nominated films of the past 10 years than you have. I can almost guarantee it. Because I have a long list of movies I want to watch that I just haven't seen. Parasite, for example. That's one that I want to watch Parasite. But I get some free time. It's like, well, I could do that. Or I could play Persona. Or I could play Shin Megami Tensei Apocalypse. Or I could check out Helldivers 2. It's just, and my partner as well, like I want her to watch it with me. And you have, like, it's hard to get us both in the headspace to want to watch a movie. So there is a lot that I've missed. But Borderlands, in terms of that, I have seen, or I should say, I played a lot of, I think it was Borderlands 2. That was a great game. And then apart from that, I don't know much about the Borderlands world. I just knew of the movie that was coming out. I have no idea what it's about. I don't remember any of the characters or anything. It was more of just like a loot game for me. Devil Survivor series. Hell yeah, John. John knows what's up. Devil Survivor is awesome. That reminds me, I got stuck on a boss in Devil Survivor 1 on 3DS. And I need to get back because that game was really good up until that boss. But if I can get through that, I would love to beat that game. Doug in the chat, $2 super chat. You know what? I've been forgetting to drop sound drops for all your super chats. Let's see. What's a good one here?
That's in the Bible.
No. That one is just straight up stolen from R.M. Brown.
This is truly mental illness.
There you go.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Thank you, Doug. Says, imagine if Pod Save, Midas Touch were progressives. I don't know much about Pod Save. Midas Touch, I only ever see what they do when they're covering. I mean, when they're covering. I guess they only cover Republicans. But I don't know how much power Midas Touch has. Pod Save, I know, is a big podcast. But I was hearing, isn't Mehdi Hassan hosting Pod Save or something for like a couple days? Like filling in as a host? He apparently has a new venture that he's going to announce soon. I'm really curious to see where he goes, what he does. Mehdi Hassan was like really the one of the only voices, at least clear voices on mainstream press that was critical of the obvious genocide going on. So his voice to me is most useful in a mainstream setting because he has the ability, I think, to really break this down for that kind of audience. Whereas if he just does like his own YouTube show or something, that'll be good too. But it's one of many voices that are already in this space, you know, that are discussing those issues. So him being like one of the only voices on TV doing that, I think is part of what his appeal was. Old Reese says video games deserve way more respect as art. I agree. That's increasing every year, though. I think, you know, there was a time, I'm old enough to remember, when hysteria around violent video games was a frequently used talking point in the news. After every time there was like a shooting or any violent event, oh, it's those video games. It's those video games. That has since died down. There was, I think Fox News may have done that recently because I do remember covering it. It may have been last year or something, but that was the only time really in recent memory that I can think of media trying to point the finger at video games. That has sort of gone away. Derek says, do you play Rust? I do not. My buddy Miles in the chat says, want to have some beers and play Chell. I do. Yes. Let's chat over text. Maybe tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow works for sure. I know sometimes you want to hang out on Fridays. We'll talk. I will say tomorrow works out better for me, but we'll take this conversation offline. Long December says, David, did you read up about Doug Ford's Get Her Done program about fast tracking public works programs and environmental costs be damned? I have not. I've seen things here or there. I got to be honest. Since the genocide, it's kind of the only thing I've really been fully engaged on as it applies to American politics, as it applies to Canadian politics. So I've just sort of missed out on some of the smaller things happening. Not to say what Doug Ford is doing is small, because if you live in Ontario, it's not small. But it hasn't been as front of mind for me. Deeper Meaning in Horror sends a $1 super chat. Thank you, sir. Or madame. Or they. Real question, should I move to Canada? Good luck with that. You can try. It's not as easy as it sounds. Immigration in Canada, I'm sure, is a little less hectic than the US. I've heard Olay discuss her horror stories with immigration in the US. But I can't imagine it's that much different in Canada. I'm just scrolling up here on the chat, see if I missed anything I want to discuss during our video game discussion. Yes, that was a PSP. Is it easier to go to Canada? I don't know, as I grew up here. But from what I've heard, it is not easy. It may be easier than the US, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Grumpy Cat says, have you talked about the controversial Alabama court ruling that frozen embryos are people? Yeah, we talked about that early during the podcast yesterday, the Leftist Mafia podcast. We discussed that whole thing. And Tommy Tuberville, and his opinion on how it's a great thing because we need more kids. Somehow banning the very thing you need to produce more children is great to produce more children. Tommy Tuberville, ultimate fucking moron. But you can go check out the beginning of that podcast to see our discussion on that. Celeste. Always with the most hilarious chats. Did you watch Drake and Josh as a kid? It's a Nickelodeon show. I have been rewatching it. Old shows were so good and aged well. I did not watch that as a kid. So I have no opinion. I do remember. So when I was a kid, one of my first celebrity crushes was Amanda Bynes, which I'm not sure what she's doing now. But I know those two were on the Amanda Bynes show, weren't they? Drake and Josh, I think they were. That's my only real awareness of those two. Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. I'm replaying the second one now, says Old Grease. Two great games. I went to open my bottle that is opened. Okay. Rob Parada says Canada just reduced the number of international students we take. Huge impact on college/university towns. I was not aware of that. Actually, that reminds me of maybe one more story that I can touch on. Well, first, this one. This is just kind of it's good to see people realizing reality, even though public policy should not dictate, or I should say, polling should not dictate public policy. Public policy should be dictated by human rights, reality. But seeing this kind of sentiment is a good sign. Do you think Israel is committing a genocide against Palestinian civilians? 18 to 29-year-olds are 49% yes, 24% no, 27% not sure. Biden 2020 voters, interestingly, 1% higher at yes. No says 20%, not sure 30%. By the way, I do appreciate, at this point you could say there's no excuse not to know, but people have lives, they're busy. I appreciate people just not saying they're not sure. It's better than just being like, no, because it sounds bad. Like if you don't know, then just say you're not sure. That's good. It's good this option's here. It's good that there are people utilizing the option, not afraid to admit they don't know. It's good to see that this yes number is as high as it is. And, the support for a ceasefire back in, I think, October, late October was already in the majority. But seeing this recognition of a genocide, I assume because people are covering it more and the ICJ ruling led to at least more coverage online, people are a little more aware of reality. But there was one more thing I wanted to see if I could pull up. All right, so this is the breach, the breach, the breach, and the Maple, which I believe this guy's from the Maple, Alex Kosh. Two fantastic. If you're in Canada, these are two outlets. Pay attention to the breach and the Maple. Both fantastic. Definitely worth. They cover important issues. So if you want to be more aware of what's happening, important issues happening from a Canadian perspective, check out these both. But this is worth listening to.
It took a very long time for the Liberals to actually admit that any military exports were being permitted at all. I had to email Global Affairs, I think 20 times in total to get a response on that. And even then, they only admitted it in passing. So the first thing they said to me is, we haven't authorized new permits for full weapons systems. Canada does not sell full weapons systems to Israel, and it hasn't in, I believe, several decades now. So that was a meaningless piece of information and didn't tell us anything about, whether they've restricted existing exports to Israel. They eventually came around and said, okay, we've authorized new military exports, but these are all for quote unquote non-lethal goods. Now, this is a term that has no legal definition. Canada has described items such as rifle scopes and laser range finders in its military aid transfers to Ukraine as non-lethal. Now, sure, a rifle scope isn't going to deliver a killing blow, but it is an integral part of a weapon system that does kill people. So again, this is misleading kind of doublespeak that they're using to throw people off the scent, I believe. Since we got hold of this list of export permits or the values of the export permits, this issue's been raised in Parliament, I think 3 times last week, once by Heather McPherson, then by Jagmeet Singh, and then by Green MP Mike Morris. And now we're seeing that MPs in Parliament and ministers, including Trudeau and Melanie Joly, are using a very carefully scripted response saying, we have not authorized new permits for full weapon systems, period. And I get the sense now that they're kind of a bit spooked, that they've now decided, okay, we actually have to be very careful about what we say. We can't have people thinking we're selling military goods to Israel. We can say this thing that is technically true, we're not sending full weapon systems, while obscuring the fact that we are still authorizing huge quantities of military exports that allow the Israeli occupation forces to do their job, which in this case is genocide.
It's hard to know what to say anymore about this topic that hasn't already been said by me on this channel 1,000 times. It's just important to note just how manipulative the framing is from the Liberal government, trying to claim that they're doing the right thing while secretly not doing the right thing, while continuing to give Israel the support that they desire, while also trying to pretend that they're for ceasefire, that they're against the killing of innocent civilians, yet helping to enable those killings. It's just, it's one of those things where you want to say that, it's going to be very clear who's on the right side of history in 10 years. But it's clear now. It's very clear now. So for all of this, this is why I get so frustrated. I had to turn off. I was watching the Majority Report today. Emma was interviewing or talking with Crystal. And they began to get into like a deep discussion around Gaza. I was getting angry. Not at what they were saying. They were correct what they were saying. But just the discussion, the acknowledgement of what is going on can be so disturbing that it's frustrating to know the kind of shit that is going on that I feel so powerless to. And this is why this topic, I hold back quite a bit in my videos on Israel because I feel like I have to, because I wouldn't be an effective communicator if I'm just screaming, losing my shit. Like, to be clear, what I'm saying during my videos is still exactly what I would be saying. But in terms of just the level of energy, the anger, I have to hold back my anger, my frustration, because I would not be able to get through delivering information if I allowed my emotions to take over. And it's just frustrating to see what's going on and we have no power over it. I mean, I shouldn't say no power. There is power in people. There is power in activism. And we have seen movement, here and there, but just not the level of movement that we need to actually stop what is going on. And that is what is so frustrating. But again, the breach, they do fit, like people always ask me, you're in Canada, who should I listen to when it comes to politics? The breach, the Maple. There are some other podcasts that I'm losing the names of right now in my brain, but these two, in terms of like reading and seeing what's going on, and they do some video work as well, definitely check them out. All right, some more chats, and then I'm gonna get out of here. Mr. Spock says, what is your take on Pierre Poilievre? Fucking clown. I apologize for the swearing. He is just such a fake populist. He's trying to do the Trump thing, but with a cleaner image. And it is just, he's so utterly phony. And, you could say, well, Trudeau, also phony. I would say, you are correct. Also phony. Incredibly phony. Less dangerous than Pierre Poilievre. It's important to put this stuff into context. Defending or criticizing one doesn't mean you love the other one. And it's very important to mention that, because there's this, some people still have the sentiment where it's like, and I see this when I do videos criticizing liberals. It's like, well, why do you support the conservatives? They're worse. Did I say I support the No, I don't. But they're currently not in power. So I'm going to be doing more videos on the people that are currently holding government. But this is what, like, if an election gets called soon, then there's going to be a lot more discussion from me on the conservatives. But I have discussed Pierre Poilievre on my channel. He's terrible. He's dangerous. He currently supports a bill that would allow websites to be clear, he supports a bill where he wants porn sites. You only have access to a porn site if they can ID you. Think of when it comes to freedoms, when it comes to privacy, like how would you even properly implement that when a lot of these sites operate outside of Canada? You're just going to allow random sites in some random country to have access to your identification? Like, it's just, and this is the same guy that talks about, the same conservative line. Oh, big government's a problem. Yet you want people to have to show their ID to access sites. And of course, it's not going to be just porn. It'll be widespread. It'll be a lot of sites shutting down completely. Like, there's porn on Twitter. You want me to give my ID to Elon Musk? It's not going to happen. So it's there's no thought put into the kind of stuff that they are putting out there. And this is a guy, Pierre Poilievre, pretends to be on the side of workers, has backed every single anti-worker piece of legislation that has ever come across his desk. He is incredibly anti-worker, very pro-corporation. He was against gay marriage, against weed legalization, yet is trying to pretend, he's hip and cool, and he no longer wears glasses, so he had this whole makeover to try to not look like Milhouse, and it's all so fake. So, I'll be doing a lot more on Poilievre the closer we get to some kind of election, because that's when people really begin to pay attention. And right now he's doing very well in polling, and I have to imagine a lot of that is because Trudeau is not good. So people are just like, well, I guess he's the other one. That's the other choice. So yeah, I'll be doing more on all that, but that's also frustrating. Brett Taylor says, thank you for the content, David. Thank you, Brett. Very generous super chat. I appreciate it. All right. I keep saying like one more, but I like hanging out. So it's gone a little longer than I thought. Any questions? Anybody? Comments, questions? I will see what else I can touch on before I jump out of here. I know there's a bit of a delay as well on the stream. Miles says, by the way, in case you're curious, Miles in the chat is from the David and Miles show. We do a podcast occasionally, like once a month or so. Miles says, Schoolboy Q, is he the best right now? He is the best. I haven't checked out I think he put up a couple new songs that I have not listened to yet, but I'm really excited for the new album. Absolutely. You should come over tomorrow and we will listen to Schoolboy Q. Looney Tunes says, we appreciate this, David. Please do these Friday streams more often. You know what? Yes, I will. Especially if I feel like this, where again, I just don't have the focus to do a proper video. But if you enjoy this, I'm just chatting, nothing special, then yeah, I'll do more of these. Ditto says, Matt Leck on Leftist Mafia as a guest. Sure. I like Matt. Cade Burdett says, have you played Elden Ring? I have. I put about 20 hours into it. Then I got to a boss that was like this crazy wolf thing in the castle. I'm like, nope. I died a couple times there. Elden Ring is a lot of fun. I wish I could just save more often and not die so goddamn much. And I get that's part of the appeal for some people, and I get that. But I stopped playing it. If I was able to save more, like if I could save right before that boss as opposed to going through that castle to get to the boss, then I probably would have got through that boss and kept playing it. But I got stuck somewhere and I'm like, you know what? This is not worth it. So I stopped playing. Same thing with Armored Core 6. Same developers. Armored Core 6. Great. I love the game. Great. I love the mecha combat, the aesthetic. It's a absolutely beautiful game. I love the sound design, everything about it. I finally beat that insane, if anyone's played Armored Core 6, that insane boss that's like in the first couple hours, I think. It's like the first big boss. Took me like, I don't know, 3 hours. Finally beat that boss. I thought, all right, great. I got over this hump. It's going to get easier now. And of course, it didn't get easier. The next level, I forget if the next level or the next area, but it's just I didn't have the patience. Like that boss wore me out so much. Where it's just I love this game, but it's too hard, and this is not fun. And I play games to escape, not to introduce more anxiety and anger into my life. So, as beautiful as those games are, they don't fit my lifestyle. Life is too hard already. Why do I want to play a game that's harder than life? I don't. So I stopped playing it. Mr. Spock says, what's your take on the new Daily Show format? Is there a new format? I've only really watched the Jon Stewart episodes because I like Jon Stewart. It seemed familiar to me. Brett Taylor says, what do you do if an acorn hits the roof of your car? I scream bloody murder. I do a barrel roll and I start shooting my car up because clearly there is something dangerous within my car. You guys all saw that, right? The acorn hitting the cop car and the cop freaking the F out. We got some comments on that video where people were like angry that we were laughing at the cop. But nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt. If you cover a genocide every single day and there's a video where something crazy happens and nobody gets hurt, it's not going to hit the same. It's not going to make you feel, at least didn't make me feel emotional or scared because I've been covering genocide every day. So when I see, a cop shooting his own cop car, I'm sorry, that's hilarious. Because of an acorn. An acorn hit his car and he thought he was being shot at. That is objectively fucking hilarious. So if that offended anybody, then I am sorry. To be fair, Matt Bender did most of the laughing, so be angry with him. But you can't fault him. It's hilarious. Lisa Thomas says, how is your baby? He's wonderful. No longer a baby, now a toddler. He's a wonderful little boy. Strange and bizarre. Even the Montreal Canadiens suck less than Trump. It's close. It's very close. To be fair, I haven't really followed the Canadians too closely. They're not in a playoff spot, though, I believe. I know Ottawa's doing shit. I feel I like the Canadians more than I like the Ottawa Senators. Maybe it's because I grew up with that Ottawa-Toronto rivalry. Oh my God. Barb Rose, I enjoy suffering. I have 430 hours in Elden Ring. Platinumed Bloodborne. Playing Dark Souls 1 right now. I am impressed. That's a lot of hours. I have over 500 hours in Rocket League, but I began playing that game in 2015. Just late last year, I passed 500 hours after playing that game fairly consistent, like not every night, but consistently since 2015. So that is a lot of time spent on one game. But I get it. The game's massive. Ditto says, which other member / friends of the show game? Mike Figueredo plays games. Bender only plays Fortnite. So there's that. I think Lance plays games. I'm not sure how consistently he does, but I mean, who doesn't play video games is the real question. I missed who said that. Someone said, where was it? Oh, regret. There was someone who was surprised that there were people angry at us for laughing at that. Go check out the comments on that Acorn video. You will see how many people were not happy with us. Somebody, like, there's one person who was angry at us because they thought we should have had more respect because that cop probably had PTSD. And okay, then don't be a cop. Like, I couldn't do that job. I don't want to do that job. But if you can't handle it, then you probably shouldn't be hired to protect and serve if that is what your job is supposed to be. Yeah, at one point in the video, he thought he got shot. He's like, again, an acorn hit his car. He's shooting his car. And then while he's shooting the car, he goes, "Oh, I'm hit." And he was never hit. Nobody shot him. He ended up resigning because I assume over embarrassment. Like, but it was incredible. All right. I'm gonna go. I feel my nose running. Oh yeah, if Miles, if you're still here, I'm not sick, but I have something. I got some sniffles, and I may be getting sicker. But my son is fine, so whatever I have, hopefully it will go away soon. All right. Thank you all for showing up. I should do more live streams. By the way, actually, before you leave, no one leave yet. This is very important. Make sure you hit the like button on this video. Hit subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. Hit the bell notification icon to be notified when new videos go up and when I go live. And more importantly, I'm going to type this into the chat actually right now. I need all of you that are currently here to go to youtube.com/ that link I had linked. youtube.com/David Dole. Right there. It is in the chat. Go there. Subscribe to my second channel. I every week now, I've been doing at least one live gaming stream on there. I also do it on Twitch at the same time, but I'm trying to grow the YouTube audience. I'm trying to make that channel into something I can use more often by monetizing it. I can only monetize it once I hit a certain threshold of views. So I've hit the threshold for subscribers, but I still want more subs. But watch hours, I'm like halfway there. I need like 1,000 more or something. So if you go there and watch a video, maybe even put a video on in the background, and if you think you don't want to hear my voice or the game, hit mute. Just let it play. I just want to be able to monetize that channel. It's really hard to get watch hours on there. And it's annoying because that channel used to be, that was my first monetized channel, was that channel, before I even launched this one. And then YouTube at some point took it away for channels that hadn't been active for a while or hadn't been posting a lot of videos. So I have to reapply basically. So I'm trying to grow that. And especially if you like gaming, you'll see some stuff there. So enjoy that. What is this? David with a PORN stash? What are you watching? Strange and bizarre. Yes, at some point in some video somewhere, I've had a mustache. So Go enjoy that. All right. You're all subscribed to both channels? Good. All right. Thank you all for showing up. There may be more videos this weekend. There may not be. I don't know. We'll see. But see you next week. Good. Bye. Once I find the buy button. Do I have a buy button? Here it is. Goodbye.